Hi guys, welcome to Unit 3, Lessons 11 and 12, Irregular and Regular Verbs. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so when we begin talking about regular and irregular verbs, I just want to remind you that we have been working with regular verbs because to form the past by following rules that you guys have been studying, those are considered regular verbs. I'm talking about these verbs that we add ed at the end to form the past tense. Okay, so the 4 rules that you guys learned and somehow helped with adding ed to the verbs, such as this one here, right? Such as play, played, hope, hoped, study, studied, stop, stopped. And these were formed by following rules. And if you still have questions about that, you can watch the class discussion on past tenses, and you can go ahead and look back at the table with the rules in it, okay? Today we are going to specifically work with irregular verbs, okay? Now, irregular verbs are those that to form the past tense for some verbs, the spelling changes, okay? So most of the verbs, and we have most of the verbs when you're forming the past tense, you will do it by adding ed. That's to most, not to all. To some, the spelling is going to change. And for those verbs where the spelling changes, these are the verbs that we consider to be irregular verbs, okay? And I have some examples here. Bring, brought, come, came, go, went, run, and ran. If you notice, you can tell, give me just one quick second, you can tell that the spelling changed, okay? So again, we have here, play, played, hope, hoped, study, studied, stop, stopped, and we used rules to form these past tenses. On this side, not only does the spelling change, but we have no rules to follow. We just know that the spelling is going to change. And how are you going to do this? You're going to do this by memorizing the irregular verbs. And there are many, many, many regular verbs. I'm just going to give you a few. Don't forget that you have this at all times so that you can study it and you can look at the table whenever you need it, okay? So let's continue. In this lesson, we are going to cover 2 forms. We are going to cover the past tense, and we're also going to cover the past with helping verbs, specifically has, have, or had. Again, we're working with irregular verbs, and we are going to specifically cover the forms of past tense and also past with helping verbs. Before we continue, we need to make sure, because I'm also going to teach you about past with helping verbs, that you understand the forms of have. Here you go, forms of have. And forms of have, it works, it specifically works, for the present tense, because you know that when you're working with the present tense is always going to be somehow linked with the subject. The present tense and the subject, they work together. So this is what's going to happen. When the subject is singular, such as he, she, it, or any other singular noun like teacher or student, you use has for the present, okay? Are you with me? So if it's a singular noun, you say has. You say the teacher has many things to do. Yes, the student has many things to do as well. So we use has for the present tense with singular subjects, okay? Let's just focus on the present just for a minute. With plural subjects, including I and you, because these 2 are the exceptions, we, they, right, or any other plural noun such as students or teachers, we use have. So we say, they have I have, you have, the students have, the teachers have, okay? It would be incorrect to say the teachers have, and I'm pronouncing the S so that you can really tell the difference between has and have, okay? Singular subjects, you use has, look at the pointer, and then for plural subjects, you use have. Now, when we're talking about forms of have, there is also a past tense for the past form, excuse me, for have, and is had. And if you notice, you can use had with singular subjects, and you can also use had with plural subjects. I like to call this helping verb the friendly helping verb because it really doesn't matter. Again, the past tense, it's not really linked. When we're working with the past tense, notice how we really don't have to look at the subject. It's more when we're working with the present tense, but I just wanted to make that distinction, okay? So we could say the teacher had, the student had, students had, and the teachers had as well, okay? But in this case, we're going to be using the past with helping verbs. So we're going to cover that in just a minute. Okay. So if you need to go back, if you need to pause, if you need to write, copy this table down, that would be a great idea. You're more than welcome to do it, okay? All right. There you go. And there you go. So we're talking about singular and we're talking about plural subjects. All right. So what I want you to do now is for the next 3 slides, I want you to pause, write what I wrote here on the tables, and then continue to the next slide, copy the irregular verbs, and then continue with the next one, okay? We're just briefly gonna go over them. Remember, once again, that the verbs has, have, and had depends on the subject, okay? The subject has to agree with the helping verb. So if we're talking about a singular subject, we would say she has brought, she has come, she has gone. But if we're talking about a plural subject, and we want to talk about the present, then we would say they have brought, they have come, they have gone, they have made, they have run, etc., etc. Okay? And if you want to talk about something that happened in the past, then you use had. And it doesn't really matter if the subject is singular or plural, you can still use the forms of have, which is in the past, which is had. Okay, so for example, you could say, she had torn, they had torn. You see, I used a singular subject first, and then I used a plural, and I was still able to use had, and it's correct to use it, okay? So we have here, because we're talking about verbs, this one is pronounced tear. So tear, tore, has, have, had, torn, wear, wore, has, have, had, worn, break, broke, has, have, had, broken, speak, spoke, has, have, had, spoken, steal, stole, has, have, had, stolen, choose, chose, has, have, had, chosen. Now, I want you to notice that not only is the past tense, not only does the spelling change for the past tense, but it also changes for the past with helping verbs, such as tore, torn, wore, worn, and please look at the pointer so you can see which word I'm talking about. Broke, broken, spoke, has, have, had, spoken, stole, has, have, had, stolen, chose, has, have, had, chosen, froze, has, have, had, frozen, threw, has, have, had, thrown, blew, has, have, had, blown, grew, has, have, had, grown, knew, has, have, had, known, flew, has, have, had, flown, bought, has, have, had, bought, gave, has, have, had, given. So you're writing all of these irregular verbs somewhere, And I want you to study them. I want you to do exactly what I just did now, okay? The more you listen to them, the easier it is for you to remember them, okay? So pause it, copy them down, and then go to the next page, okay? Now that you've copied the first table, we're going to continue with 29 through 42, and I want you to do the same thing again. I want you to look at the verb in its base form. Example, leave. They want you to go. They want you to leave. The past tense is left. Has, have, had, left. Okay, drive, drove. Has, have, had, driven. Notice how the past tense and the past with helping verb is the same here, right? For verb leave, the past tense is left, and past with helping verb is also left. And in drive, drove, has, have, had, driven, the spelling changes, not only for the past tense, but also for the past with helping verbs, okay? And you're gonna see, you're gonna notice some similarities and some things that maybe they can help you to remember them. But as I said before, no one has specific rules for you to memorize or for you to work with irregular verbs. This is all by memory. You have to memorize them, okay? Now, like I said before, they do have some similarities. If you, for example, were to look here, through, blew, grew, and knew, and flew, see, they have some similarities. But it doesn't mean that that's going to happen. It happens for some reason. It just happens. So if you put these together, you'll probably be able to remember that through is like blew and like grew and knew and flew, and that would somehow help you to memorize them. Okay? All right. So copy 29 through 42, and I want you to sort of create like a song. Pay, paid, has, have, had, paid. Rise, rose, has, have, had, risen, okay? And I want you to do that with every single one of them after you copy them, because you are going to need them for your assignment. So make sure that you are indeed copying these out. Some people are not doing what I'm asking, and then they have no idea on what to do, okay? So pause the video and then continue. Thank you. Okay, so now that you paused the video and you copied all 42 irregular verbs, and trust me, there are many, many more, but I just chose the ones that are pretty much used in your daily life. Things that I feel as if you need to know them, okay? Okay, so let's get to work. So now, you have to be able to tell the difference. If I ask you, what is the difference between a regular verb and an irregular verb, you should be able to tell me that a regular verb in the past tense ends in ed, and that an irregular verb to form the past tense, the spelling changes. You should be able to know that, okay? So that's what we're going to do. Not only do you need to be able to distinguish or tell the difference between one and the other, but also you need to know how to form the past tense when it has a helping verb in it, okay? And that's what we're going to do today. So, good thing about this is that you can pause it. Again, I am trusting that you wrote every single one of those 42. I know that it's long, but I need for you to write that on a loosely paper, in your notebook, anywhere where you can stick that in your refrigerator and you can study those every single day, because you need to memorize them, okay? So, which of these past tense verbs are regular? And I'm reading the first question, okay? Which are irregular? So we should be able to tell the difference. So, I want you to pause the video for a minute, and I want you to answer that first question. Which of these are regular and which are irregular? Are you able to tell the difference? Let's see. Pause the video and then hit play when you're ready to hear if you did correct or not. Okay, get to it. Okay, So now that you have paused the video and you're ready to continue, let's see if you answered correctly. Number one, dressed. Is dressed regular or is it irregular? Let's see. If you answered regular, then you are correct. Dressed in the past tense ends with ed, and that is the first clue to identify a regular verb, okay? Perfect, let's go to the next one. Number two, thought. If you answered irregular, then you are correct. Guys, if you were to go back to the table where you have the rules for forming the past tense, the regular ones, right? You would not be able to fit thought into either one of them because it doesn't end with ed, excuse me. So that's the first. When the spelling changes, you know that thought is the past tense for think, and the spelling changed. Oh, wait a minute. This is an irregular verb, okay? Let's go to number three. And we have came. Let's look at the word came. What did you answer? If you answered irregular, you are correct. You're getting the hang of this. The past came, the base form is come, the spelling changed, so we immediately identify it as an irregular verb. Perfect. Let's go to number four. Wrote. Wrote. If you identified it as an irregular verb, then you're correct. The base form for wrote is write. So the spelling changed, and because the spelling changed to form the past tense, wrote is an irregular verb. You got it. Okay, let's go to number five. Said. Said. Let me see your answer. Don't wait for me to give you the answer so that you can do your work. Come on. What's number five? What's your answer? Is it a regular verb or is it irregular? If you answered irregular, then you are correct. Said is an irregular verb because the base form is say. The past is said. The spelling changed, which makes it an irregular verb. Okay? Let's go to number six. For number six, we have tried. And for number six, if you answered regular, you are correct. Okay? I think you guys are getting the hang of this. And also you can go back. You can open your book and you can go to the rules and you can tell me, Mrs. Villamosa, I used rule number one. There are two regular verbs, right? We have dressed, number one, and then we have tried. So it is a regular verb because this one is following rule number one. We just add ed. And then for number six, we're following rule number three because the base form is try and we changed it to tried. We changed the Y to I and we added ed. So we followed rule number three. Perfect. Okay, so now let's go to the second question. The second question is, what is the past form of each verb below when it is used with the helping verb have? And because I don't want you to, we're not working with subjects right now, and we already learned that the form of have is going to change depending on the subject. If it's a singular subject, I use has in the present. If it's a plural subject, I use have in the present. And then I use, for the past, I use had. Perfect. Okay, so let's continue. So I want you to look at number one. And we have the past with helping verb have, just because we're working together, okay? Don't worry about that. In our heads, we're working with plural subjects because we know that that's what we need to use in order to use have. So, okay, so we have number one, we have, let's see, we use past with helping verb have, and we have a regular verb. Let's see what happens. How do we form the past with helping verb with the verb dressed? Have dressed. Notice that I'm just adding the helping verb have to the past tense verb, dressed. Nothing changes. I just added have to it. So have dressed. So this whole phrase, it's a regular one, right? Because the main verb is a regular verb. So if at some point you had to tell the difference of, for example, regular or irregular, and you had verb phrases, you're going to look at the main verb, and the main verb is the one that decides, okay? So because in this case, the main verb is a regular, see, we identified it here, this whole phrase is now a regular, it's a regular verb as well. Let's see thought. We labeled thought as irregular. So now let's see what happens when we form the past with helping verb. Now, because we're working with irregular verbs, this is when you have your list. Remember that list that I told you to have? This is when you're going to need it. Yes. So you go to that list and you find the past tense verb thought. You look at it. And then you're going to look at the column where it says past with helping verb. Did you find it? Okay. So what does it say? What does it say? Yes, thought. So now we're just adding the helping verb have, and then we add thought, because this is how we form the past with helping verb. You have to go to the list. You have to memorize it, okay? Let's go to number 3. So for number 3, came, we also identified it as irregular. So if we identified it as irregular, we know that we can, for example, we need to use the list. And if we need to use the list, you need to have it handy. So let's see. Okay. Go to your list and find the past tense came. And then you are going to look at the column where it says past with helping verb and see which one is right next to came. Okay? Have come. Perfect. Okay? Let's go to number 4. And again, we identified it as irregular. So we have to use the table because the table is the one that has the irregular verb. Okay? All the verbs in that table, not all because I only added, what, 42, 40, but the verbs that are on that list, they are irregular verbs, okay? So let's see. So we go and we find, in our table, we find in the past tense column, right? Because we're working with the past tense right now. We go to wrote, and then we look at the column to the right where it says past with helping verb. And what does it say? Yes, it says written, because past with helping verb is written, has, have, had, written. And in this case, for example purposes, it's just have written. Okay, so let's go to number 5. Again, number 5 is on that irregular list. So we identify, we look for the past tense, said. And because now we're looking for past with helping verb, we're going to look at the column to the right. And what does it say? Yes, it's exactly the same. See, some of them change and others, they stay the same. Say, said, has, have, had, said. Okay, let's go to number 6. For number 6, we identified it as regular. So we know that in this case, we are going to keep, we don't change the past tense verb. The only thing that changes is that we add the helping verb have tried. So out of this list, we had 2 that are regular, have dressed. Notice the helping verb and the main verb stayed in the past tense form. It did not change because this is a regular verb, okay? And have tried, we know that this is a verb phrase. We are going to look at the main verb, and tried is a regular verb. See, we identified it here. So this whole phrase is identified now as a regular verb, okay? Are you guys with me? Okay, let's continue. So what else are we going to do? Now we are going to practice doing both. We are going to form the past tense, and we're also going to form the past with helping verb. We're going to continue to work with have, but again, the helping verb depends on the subject and whether you want to speak in the present tense or the past. For singular subjects, you use has in the present, and for plural subjects in the present, you use have, and that's what we're using now. Okay, so what I want you to do is this. I want you to pause this video, and I want you to work with this. Don't forget that all of these verbs are all mixed. There are some that are regulars and others that are irregulars. If they are on the list that I gave you, then those are irregulars, okay? If you cannot find the verb that you're looking for on that list, it's because it is a regular verb, okay? That means that you have to follow the rules for regular verbs. I hope that you guys are following me. Okay, so let's go to, let's pause it. You guys are gonna work with this. And once you're done and you've answered all of them, you're gonna hit play, okay? All right, guys, go do it. Okay, so now that you have completed this, you've answered this, and I hope that you're doing this because this is practice, okay? So I want to compare answers with you. Let's see if you did it correct or if you still need a bit more help with some of these things, okay? To be able to figure out the past tense, to figure out the past with helping verb. Okay, so number one, we have bring. What is the past tense of bring? If you wrote brought, you are correct, okay? Now, let's go to number one for the past with helping verb. If you wrote have brought, then you are correct, right? Let's go to number two. For number two, what is the past tense for complete? If you wrote completed, then you have done it correctly. And if you could tell me that you also use rule number two, that is perfect. Yes, complete is a verb that ends with E. So to form the past tense, we drop the E and then we add ED. That is correct. You guys are doing so good. Okay, so the past with helping verb for complete, we know that this is a regular verb, so we just add have and it's have completed. Yes, okay, good, 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 perfect. Okay, so let's go to number three. Number three, take. What is the past tense for take? If you found it on your list, that guarantees that this is an irregular one, okay? So take, what is the past tense of take? Took. Yes, took. So this is a tricky one because take is a verb that ends with E, but it is not a regular verb. You have to be careful with this. This is why you need to memorize them, okay? The past tense of take is took. All right, and what is the past with helping verb? You look at the table, you identified took in the past tense column, and then you look at the column to the right, the one that says past with helping verb, past, have, had. So then what does it say next to took? It says taken. Yes. So for number three, you should have, for the past with helping verb, have taken. Yes. Okay, let's do number four. For number four, what is the past tense of drive? If you said dried, you are correct. Remember that we use rule number three that states verbs ending in consonant and Y. We change the Y to I and add ED. Yes, good. Now, what is the past with helping verb? Well, we know that if it ends with ED in the past tense, it is a regular verb. Yes. So that means that all we have to do is add have to the past tense verb. Correct. Oh my goodness, you guys are doing so good. Okay, let's go to number five. Come. What is the past tense of come? If you answered came, you are correct. Now, what is the past with the helping verb? for come? What is that? If you answered have come, then you are correct. Very good, guys. You're doing such a good job. If you found it, if you use the table, which you should be doing, you identified come and then came, and in the column with past with helping verb, you have come. Great. Let's go to number 6. What is the past tense for run? The past tense for run is ran. Yes. So this is, notice how the spelling changes. It is an irregular verb, okay? Now, what is the past with the helping verb? Now, right now, I'm not expecting you guys to know this by heart, but I am expecting you to use the table and to try to figure out the answers, okay? So you can use page 118 if you have your book. You won't need it because, again, I added the tables here to the PowerPoint, but just in case if you want to look it up. And also page 120, and I also added a few additional ones, okay? Those important ones that I feel are necessary for you to know. Okay, so what is the past with helping verb? The past with helping verb is have run. Yes, notice that ran, the spelling changes in the past tense, but then in the past with helping verb, run goes back to its base form, which is kind of mind-blowing, right? This is why working with irregular verbs is so tricky, but the more you practice, the better you will become. Okay, so pause it, make any corrections if you must, and then continue. Perfect. Now, we are going to work on your own on page 119, and what we're doing here is we are going to write the correct past form of the verb in parentheses to complete each sentence. So example, I blank about a good topic, and they want me to do the past form. Notice that it says it here, the past form. Now, because I have two forms, I have the past tense form, and I have the past with helping verb, okay? Now, I know that the past tense, it's only one. They don't need any helping verbs. So I know that. But past with helping verbs, I got to keep my eye on to see if I have any helping verbs in my sentences, because if I do have a helping verb in the sentences, then I need to use the column that says past with helping verbs. Okay, are you guys ready? Okay, let's do this. So, example, I blank about a good topic and our verb is think. What is the past tense of think? And I know that you have your papers next to you, so you answer thought, and that is correct. Guys, you're doing so good. I'm so excited. Let's go to number 13. I blank to the library for books about bears. And the verb in parentheses is go. So what is the past tense of go? You look at the sentence. Do you see any helping verbs? No, you don't. So let's go to the past tense column and find where it says go and look at the past tense. And the past tense of go is went. Yes, so I went to the library for books about bears. Perfect. Number 14, I had blank a list of the books, and my verb is make. Now I noticed that in this sentence, what do we see here? In this sentence, we have had, and had is a helping verb. So now, what do I have to do? I have to look at the table that in the column side where it says past with helping verb. And what does it say for make? What is the past with helping verb for make? If you answered make, let's see, let's get to that. If you answered, give me just one quick second. This is not working. If you answered made, then you are correct. Let me erase what I wrote here so that we don't get confused. Okay, so but that's what we're going to do. We're going to identify helping verbs as soon as we see them in the sentence. Okay, so I had made a list of the books. If you go to the list, you find made in the past tense, make, you find make in the base form, and then you go to the past with helping verbs, it says made. Perfect. Now let's go to number 15. Number 15, I blank my report in 2 hours, and our verb is write. Let's look at the sentence. Do you see any helping verbs? I don't either. Okay, which means that we're going to go with our past tense. That's it. So what is the past tense of write? Let me see. Okay, there it is. If you wrote, something is happening here. If you wrote, if you wrote the word wrote, then you are correct. Wrote is the past tense for write. Perfect. Number 16, I blanked the report to school yesterday, and our verb is take. Let's look at the sentence. Do you see any helping verbs in the sentence? No, that means that you just need the past tense. So let's go to the table in case you don't know the past tense of take, and you look for take, and then you look at the past tense column, and then what does it say next to it? Yes, it showed previously, right? Something happened with the system, but now it's took. I took the report to school yesterday. Awesome. Number 17, she blanked that my report was great, and our verb is say. What is the past tense of say or the past with helping verbs? Do we have a helping verb on that sentence? No, we don't, which means what? We are going to use the past tense. So we go to the table, we find the verb say, and then we look at the column for the past tenses. And what is the past tense of say? Said. Very good. She said that my report was great. You guys are awesome. You're doing so good. I know it. Number 18, the teachers, and there's Paris. Okay, the teachers have blank classes online, and our verb is take. So the teachers have blank classes online, and we immediately identify that there is a helping verb in this sentence, and the helping verb here is have. Good. So you identified the helping verb. So because you identified a helping verb, you know that you're going to look at the column that says past with helping verb. So find the verb take, and then look at the column that says past with helping verb. And it says has, have, had, taken. Yes. So taken is the answer for number 18. The teachers have taken classes online. No lie, this is a true statement. Okay, so let's go to number 19. They have blank too many meetings, and our verb is go. And we identify the helping verb have immediately because we already know that we're going to be looking for things like this. So we put our detective cap on, and then we identify have, so we know that not only do we have to look, we find the verb go, we have, because there is a helping verb in the sentence, we have to go to the column that says past with helping verb. So it says went, it's in the past tense, and the past with helping verb, it says has, have, had, gone. So the past with helping verb for go is gone. Yes. Do you see what we're doing? It's important that you guys use the table. I'm not expecting you guys to know this by heart because we're now studying this, okay? And I know that you covered this maybe in 4th grade, but some of you have forgotten, and that is fine. This is why we're doing this all over again. Okay, so pause the video, and if you have to make any corrections, go ahead and make them, okay? I'll be waiting for you. Let's go. Okay, so now that you've corrected the on your own exercises, I appreciate, thank you for following directions. This is what you guys have to do next. You now have to practice what you've learned. So you're gonna work on the extra practice, page 146. You're gonna read the pages, you're gonna read the directions on the page very carefully, and you're gonna do what it says. Okay, if it tells you to write the sentences, you're going to write the sentences. If it doesn't tell you to write the sentence, then don't write the sentence, but read the directions carefully. Look at the examples. This assignment must be done in your English notebook or loose leaf paper. I do not want you guys answering on the PDF form that I uploaded for you guys to have the extra practice page in case you don't have your book. And I said that kind of fast. But I uploaded the extra practice page. I don't want you working on that document. This assignment must be done in English notebook or loose leaf paper. Okay, also important, remember to take a picture and send it to me. Okay, that's important. Okay, guys, so I hope this helps. I love you. If you have any questions, email me and ask me as many questions as you have. Okay, so I'll see you later. Bye-bye.